Throughout history, there have been people who have committed some of the most heinous crimes fathomable. For those crimes, they have been convicted and sentenced to death. Welcome to Death Row Executions, where we take a look into the lives of society's worst offenders. And now, your host, Air.
Hello everyone and Happy New Year. Before I get into this story, I would like to share some good news. I finally created a website and it's called deathrowexecutions.net. There I will be posting blogs with updates and you guys can comment and also chat with me. A few people have used it and I think that they think a robot is talking to them and not me, but it's me, guys. Also, since I'm not able to do merch on my channel, I have decided to create my own online store with merch. And if anyone decides to purchase an item, you can DM me a picture on my new Instagram, deathrowexecutionsyt. And if you're okay with it, I can include you in a video with a special thank you. So thank you guys all for the support, and I hope everyone has a great year.
He told me he regrets his life of violence, drugs, and alcohol.
You think you might be able to stop in the future, you think you can be able to measure it and just do a little bit here and a little bit there, but you're looking at a bona fide alcoholic and drug fanatic, and I can tell you that it's not. It's going to get worse, and it's going to lead to violence and chaos. You could jeopardize losing your whole family. You could jeopardize your life. You could end up like me.
Robert Van Hook was born on January 14th, 1960 in Sharonville, Ohio. His parents were in a relationship together, but their relationship was unhealthy. They were both heavily into drinking and would frequent bars. Robert was always allowed to drink and do drugs with his father because he had no issues giving it to him. He allowed Robert to experiment and would even take him on trips to bars. For Robert, the drinking and drug use did not stop, even though he tried to make an honest living by joining the military. He was able to enlist, but was eventually kicked out of the military because of his drug use. Another thing Robert struggled with besides drinking and using drugs was his sexuality. Robert admitted that he started robbing gay men at the age of 15. After getting out of the military, he went right back to robbing gay men. The victims would always think that they would be able to get some form of sex with Robert before they were victimized. On February 18, 1985, Robert chose to head out that evening to downtown Cincinnati, where the nightlife in the gay scene was buzzing. He made it to the subway bar, and he set his eyes on a man by the name of David Self. When Robert approached David at the bar, David seemed interested in Robert, and the two began to drink and talk for a total of 3 hours. The two were friendly with the bartender, so when it was time for the pair to go to David's house for a sexual encounter, David let the bartender know he was leaving and where they were going. After making it to David's apartment, Robert and David started to get intimate. David was put into a position that was compromising, and that is when something switched in Robert and he decided to attack David. The attack did not stop there, and he looked for a weapon in David's house in order to kill him. Some of David's wounds exposed internal cavities, and when Robert was done with his attack, he shoved a small bottle, a cigarette butt, and a weapon into the cavity. After going overboard with David's body, he then ransacked David's apartment looking for anything of value. He was able to find a chest full of jewelry which contained the gold chain David had worn to the bar that night. Building up an appetite, he then searched David's fridge to see if there was something he could eat, but there was nothing to his liking, so he left. Instead of going home, Robert drove to his friend Dr. Robert Hoy's house. Robert Hoy was a family friend and asked Robert what had happened. He expressed to his friend that he got into a fight with his stepfather and asked if he could borrow some money and eat some food. Robert Hoy made him a large meal and gave him money. When Robert was done eating, he drove all the way to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Robert was able to fly under the radar up until April 1st, 1985, when Oakland Park Police in Florida apprehended him. He was later indicted on April 18th, exactly 1 month after killing David, on one count of aggravated murder by a Hamilton County grand jury. His indictment carried a death penalty specification because of the aggravated robbery. On April 23rd, Robert pled not guilty by reason of insanity, so there was an automatic court-ordered psychiatric evaluation. He claimed to have gone into a homosexual panic and could not control his behavior. He had been fighting his true feelings and would take it out on any gay man who found him attractive or wanted to do anything sexual with him. He was found competent to stand trial and waived his rights to a jury trial, so his trial was held in front of a 3-judge panel. Robert's trial began on July 15, 1985, and he was found guilty by the judges on July 29, 1985. His death sentence came on August 8th. There were immediate appeals, and Robert's first appeal had 8 points of error, with one of them being that the incriminating statements he made to Cincinnati law enforcement should not have been allowed during trial because they were involuntary and should have been suppressed. In a quote from his appeal, he claimed that police ignored his attempt to invoke his constitutional rights and used psychological ploys, including employing his mother to assist them, to induce him to incriminate himself. The response to this argument was that Robert raised no procedural default arguments against that claim. In 2017, there were a few attorneys in the state of Ohio who tried to stop an execution because the inmate they were representing had a reaction to the lethal drugs, but every time they tried to get a hold of someone at the prison, they were unsuccessful. Because of this, Judge Michael Mers permitted a new system to be created that allowed open phone lines from the execution room to the courtroom. On July 18, 2018, which was Robert's execution day, he arrived at Lucasville Prison and had a final meal of French fries, cheeseburgers, strawberry cheesecake with whipped cream on top, a vanilla milkshake, and some grapefruit juice. After being taken to his execution room, a federal judge allowed an open phone line for the courtroom. Robert Van Hook was officially pronounced dead at 10:44 on a Wednesday on July 18, 2018. Thank you all for watching another episode of Death Row Executions. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below.
Every day of my life. I pray for him every day, and I pray for a lot of things.
Do you ever think about what's going to be going through your mind when it's you who's being led away?
I'm going to be thinking about my brothers here on death row, how they're going to be feeling, losing me. So that's probably what I'll be thinking, because I have no fear of death. In a way, I kind of look forward to it, because for me, it'd be like starting a new life again.
He may not fear death, but he has fought it for decades.